Armstrong Williams on the right side.
Armstrong.
Don't curse, speak English.
Armstrong.
Virtuous society.
Armstrong.
I dare you to listen.
Hey, turn it up. Hey. Armstrong. Get on the right side. Armstrong.
Elevate your mind.
Armstrong.
I'm Armstrong Williams on the right side.
Armstrong.
Yo, man, it's your boy K.O. And you're tuned in to the most conservative of our brothers.
Armstrong.
The Armstrong Williams Show. Please give me a break. Grow up. Hello, everybody, and hello, Logan Delaney. How are you?
Armstrong Williams, I'm doing fine.
You know what? I used to talk to my good friend Logan, but he didn't have time for me anymore. He's so busy and with the
Armstrong,
business of the
when I
family.
call you now, you don't get back to me.
Oh, what are you talking about? I was in New Orleans. I went to New York
I'm not
yesterday.
going to get on this on the air.
I went
We'll
to New
talk
York.
about this
I went
some
to New
other
York
time.
yesterday to celebrate my birthday. I haven't been here. I've been
Happy
partying.
birthday.
I've been partying, man. I've had a week of partying. Oh boy!
You party while I work.
Oh, listen, I've been partying hard. Gary Shapiro, how are you? Well, I guess it's not on the line. That's unusual. Nope, that's what my man said. Nope, and he knows. Logan, how you doing, man? It's so good to talk to you.
Hey, I'm doing fine, Armstrong. It's a beautiful day, and it's a productive day.
Oh, okay. We need to talk about this crony capitalism. Exactly what it is. The Justice Department, it's all over the press, is going after the S&P for rated mortgage-backed securities, AAA prior to the 2008 financial crisis, but not going after Moody's, which did the same and is owned by Buffett. Is this really payback for S&P downgrading U.S. Treasuries and Buffett's financial and moral support of Obama? Are they trying to take out the competition?
Armstrong, S&P, Moody's, and Fitch have a government monopoly on rating agencies, on rating debt. Now, for people who are not familiar with the investment community, every time a debt instrument is issued to the public, a bond or a debenture is issued to the public, the company and the investment banker have to go to these rating agencies. Moody's is the one owned by Buffett, and S&P is owned by another company. And they say, okay, this is what our financial situation looks like. This is what our future is going to look like. We will be able to pay back the bonds that we borrowed over so many years. They do all this credit analysis that a bank would normally do. And a bank would normally go through its committee, and the committee would approve it or not approve it. And the rating agencies essentially go through the same process, except the borrower is paying for it, and the lender or the public investor is not paying for it, which is the difference between the bank credit committee and the rating agency credit committee. Okay, but you come out and you come away with a rating, and the rating, if it's a AAA, it's the best rating you can do. It means there's a 99% chance you'll pay this back. If you have a less than an investment grade, which is a B or triple B or a double B, it means that you're less likely to pay it back. Maybe there's a 20% chance you'll default. Now, what is interesting is that prior to 2007, Moody's and S&P both gave all of these derivatives and mortgage-backed securities AAA ratings. And I won't go into the reasons why, but at the time, all of the major agencies, rating agencies, thought that they would get that these were highly likely to be paid back. Well, it turns out they did not foresee the 2007-2008 financial crisis. And they were wrong. A lot of these mortgage-backed securities ended up defaulting in some way or another. Now, when you default on a bond issue, it doesn't necessarily mean that you lose everything, but it may mean that you get paid back 90 cents on the dollar or 50 cents on the dollar or 10 cents on the dollar. You get paid back something. Well, the other thing you have to remember is that this is a judgment call. This is a judgment call that these rating agencies make as to what the creditworthiness of this debt is. Well, all the credit agencies thought that these were AAA securities, and when the financial crisis hit, a bunch of them defaulted. Now, the Justice Department is going after S&P, Standard & Poor's, and saying, hey, wait a minute, S&P should be paying the government $5 billion, which would basically come close to putting S&P out of business, but should be paying $5 billion to the government.
Unbelievable.
And when you think about that, and you think about, well, why are they only going after S&P? The only difference between S&P and Moody's, which gave the same ratings, is that Moody's is owned by one of Buffett's companies. I mean, that's the only difference I can see. By the way, both of these companies for 100 years have given U.S. government debt a AAA rating, the absolute best you can get. Recently, within the last couple of years,
Logan, all things being fair, the U.S. doesn't deserve a AAA rating.
I don't think it deserves a AAA rating. You know, our debt to GDP ratio has doubled over the last 10 years. You know, that's like saying that, you know, when you had, you know, you're making $100,000 and you had $50,000 of debt initially, that when you take on another $100,000 worth of debt, you're equally likely to pay it back. Well, that's just not the case. You know, the more debt you have, the less likely you are to pay it back. So the U.S. government has clearly become less creditworthy over the last 10 years, and particularly over the last 4 years, than it was previously. So the real question that we have to ask is, why did the government go after S&P and not Moody's?
Well, the answer seems so obvious, but sometimes what is so obvious is not the answer.
Well, I don't know. I'd like to know. You know, one of the other interesting things is that this is coming from the Justice Department and not the SEC. Now, it's the SEC that really gives the strength and the requirement to have these ratings. There are a lot of regulations that say if you are a certain type of institution, you must have only AAA debt, or you must have investment-grade debt, as rated by these rating agencies. And the SEC, interestingly enough, has been behind Moody's and S&P and basically promotes their business.
But what about the fact that the government, Logan, accused Standard & Poor's of inflating ratings on mortgage investments to boost its bottom line, sort of taking aim at a key player in the run-up to the financial crisis? I mean, if you look at some of the, I know you can't believe everything that you read. They also said the government misrepresented the risk because it wanted more business from the banks. And so this is a case which is actually the government's first major action against one of the credit rating agencies that stamped their seals of approval on Wall Street's mortgage bundlers. And it makes a sort of a milestone for the Justice Department, which you just mentioned, which has been criticized for failing to make bigger cases against the companies involved in the crisis.
Well, I think there's a certain irony in that argument
No, it's not an argument. It's just a fact. I mean, they.
Well, the fact is that everybody recognizes and has always recognized that there is an inherent conflict of interest when the issuer pays the rating agency. Okay? The fox from the very beginning is in the chicken coop. But the irony is the government requires this. The SEC requires this debt to be rated, knowing that the incentives are to give it higher ratings than they might otherwise enjoy if it's to be purchased by certain institutions.
But you don't think that rating agencies are somewhat blamed for also contributing to the financial crisis that created and sort of crested in 2008 and caused one of the deepest recessions this country has faced in a long time?
No. I mean, I don't think they are because, first of all, sophisticated investors are supposed to do their own analysis.
Hold there, Logan. We're coming back. This is Armstrong Williams. Don't go away.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams. Just like the Affordable Care Act seeks to ensure people with public or private coverage can find high-quality health care, AAA911health.com offers consumers you with access to better information, quality care, and big-time savings on your health care. Yes, big time. AAA911health.com offers a 90-day money-back guarantee. That's right. If AAA911health.com haven't saved you money, guess what? They will pay you back in full your membership with no questions asked. Just tell them Armstrong Williams sent you to AAA911health.com.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams. What does it mean to be conservative? Freedom of speech, freedom of free enterprise, freedom of assembly, less government, less taxes. As a matter of fact, a flat tax. Everyone should pay proportional tax. It doesn't matter whether you make $100 million or $10,000. Everyone should pay their 10%. Everyone should have something at stake in this American economy. I'm Armstrong Williams expressing what we mean by conservative traditional value.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams with an opportunity to own a piece of paradise in Nassau, Bahamas. Spectacular land prices, 8,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet lot, affordable prices, hilltop properties with views of the magnificent sea. Just call 242-677-3120 or 3121 or go to info@rightsidewire.com and leave your information.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
You know, Logan, what I'm trying to do for the sake of objectivity and fairness is to sort of forget about the bias you feel about the S&Ps versus Moody that is being singled out. And just think about the real issue at hand here. And, because some investors, including pension funds, can only buy investments that carry high ratings. And in effect, what that means is that rating agencies like S&P grease the assembly line that allowed banks to push risky mortgages out the door.
Well, you're absolutely right that certain financial institutions have to produce or cannot buy securities unless they have a certain rating. Okay. Having said that, that does not exempt those financial institutions from doing the analysis of whether they think those bonds or debentures or securities are risky. They have to do their own homework. As a matter of fact, the government is suing on behalf of some very sophisticated financial institutions that made some bad guesses on this. And the irony is that some of these financial institutions are being sued by the government. These very same institutions were being sued by the government because they did not use their own collective judgment as to the creditworthiness of the securities. It's very clear that you just cannot rely as a fiduciary. You just cannot rely on a rating. You have to do your own homework. These are not widows and orphans that the government's suing for. The government is suing because its own regulators and the credit people of the financial institutions that have lost money have not done their job.
But is it also possible that these credit agencies were more interested in profit and making money than issuing accurate ratings? I mean, the companies delayed updating its rating models, rushed through the ratings process, and kept giving high ratings even after Logan was aware that the subprime market was failing. I mean, just failing, even as it gave high marks to investments made of subprime mortgages. I mean, if you go back to 2007, and I remember this. I remember this quite vividly. You go back to 2007. I remember an analyst forwarding a video of himself singing and dancing to a tune about the deterioration of the subprime market with colleagues laughing.
Well, Armstrong, people in the financial community disagree about the quality of virtually all securities. That's what makes a market.
Let me interrupt you.
Nobody's opinion
is
accurate 100% of the time.
Well, let me interrupt you here. As far as the government in and of itself, the government should be criticized for not pursuing these financial crisis wrongdoings as doggedly as some might have hoped. I mean, because they just did not. The government is just now getting around to filing a lawsuit, and it seems.
I disagree with you, Armstrong, because there's a difference between the government's job and the bank's job and the analyst's job and the rating agency job is not to guarantee you against loss.
Logan, we're talking about something much deeper than guaranteeing against loss. These rating agencies like S&P were a key part of the financial crisis narrative. I'm sorry.
No, they weren't, Armstrong.
When banks and other...
They were not a key part.
Logan, you don't want to admit it.
The key part is that government regulation.
I'm sorry, Logan.
Government regulation encouraged this kind of risky behavior.
Logan, I'm sorry. When banks and other financial firms wanted to package mortgages into securities and sell them to investors, they would come to a rating agency to get a rating for the security. And many securities made of risky subprime mortgages, Logan, got high ratings, giving even the more conservative investors like pension funds the confidence to buy them. Come on now.
No. These pension funds have an obligation to do their own homework.
Yes.
Okay?
Well, what about the rating agency?
If they didn't do
and so does the rating agency.
You should be blaming the...
I'm blaming all of them. All of them should be
blaming the management of the pension fund. Don't blame the rating agency. They're not to do your homework. You're supposed to do your own homework if you're a sophisticated investor.
Logan, Logan, let me tell you something. When you have an S&P charging $150,000 for rating a subprime mortgage-backed security and $750,000 for certain types of other securities, if S&P lost the business, for example, if the firm that planned to sell the security decided it could get a better rating from Fitch and Moody, then an S&P analyst would have to submit a loss deal memo explaining why he or she lost the business. Come on.
No, that's not right. That's not the way it works because they have to get the ratings from Fitch and Moody's anyway. Okay? I mean, basically, S&P and Moody's would not have lost the business because you just cannot go out and issue some of these securities without a rating. It can be any rating.
Logan, I may not be as learned on this issue as you are, but let me just tell you something. Some things to me is just a modicum of common sense. You cannot hold these rating agencies blameless.
Armstrong, I'm not trying to hold them blameless. What I'm trying to say is that the people who are responsible, these rating agencies are not responsible for it. The rating agencies put this through their process of how you rate companies, how you rate bonds, is fairly transparent. Okay, now, they give a report on their rating. You can disagree with it. People disagree with this all the time. When I was an investment banker, I used to go in front of rating agencies all the time, arguing either to, usually to get my clients'
did the S&P
increase? Okay?
Logan,
that's part of the process. Everybody goes in there to make the best case they can, but ultimately, it's the buyer. It's buyer beware, especially in the sophisticated.
Logan, before I go to Randy, was the S&P aware that the subprime mortgage market was collapsing? Were they aware of this?
There was disagreement in their
Logan,
committee.
Come on,
There was
Logan.
disagreement in their committee. There was. I think there was legitimate
Logan,
disagreement in their committee. I do not think that the rating agencies were deliberately trying to fraud the American public or the investing public.
Randy, you're on with Logan Delaney. Go ahead. Thank you for calling.
Hello?
Yes, Randy, go ahead.
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing, man? Yo, Logan, you just hanging on, man. You hanging on by a thin thread, brother.
Why am I hanging on? Do you think, Randy, have you ever bought a security, a bond?
Well, listen, I'm not going that route with you. Listen what I'm saying. They downgraded our country's credit. They upgraded. Let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
They upgraded subprime loans that they knew people couldn't pay. They upgraded that so our country could go down. But they downgraded our own country's credit. So I mean, where did the line go? Why didn't they upgrade our credit? Why couldn't they upgrade subprime loans and let them do triple swaps and all that and take our country down a slippery slope where we almost went the way of Greece, as all the Republicans are trying to say now? Why would they downgrade our credit rating? Because subprime loans, can you break that down?
Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense downgrading our credit. We are not as credit worthy as we were 10 years ago. Our debt level per GDP is double what it was 10 years ago.
Come on, man. You're losing it, man.
I'm not losing it. Randy, let the market say the same
let
thing.
Randy be respectful now. He has the right to his opinion.
No. I'm just saying. He's not explaining how they did the subprime thing, and they upgraded those. I mean, a triple swap is like, I get a house for I pay $140,000 for a house. They'll triple that and put it on the market, right? And a triple swap, ain't that what it is? They can upgrade. They can qualify that as equity and put it on the stock market. But then they can turn around and say that we're not paying our bills. They're not even on top of regular loans for houses. How can they have lost their credibility to me? And the lawsuit is a long time coming. Hello?
Randy, you don't understand credit analysis. It's obvious. I mean, obviously, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way because it's a very technical subject, but I can tell you that there are two basic standards for doing credit analysis. One is the level of debt to income. And in the United States, our level of debt as a percentage of income 10 years ago was about 35% of GDP. Today, it's about 80% of GDP. It's more than doubled. It's more than doubled. That's standard number one. Standard number two is ability to pay in terms of your cash flow. And if you look at the government's revenue versus the the ratio of the government's revenue versus its interest payments, that too has deteriorated. So it's very clear when you look at it that the United States government's ability to pay is less than it was 10 years ago. Now, if you want to know something frightful, the level of debt that the United States has relative to its GDP is very similar to that of Greece.
Randy, thank you.
You know where Greece is.
Thank you so much for calling. Logan, and this is rare for me to say this to you. I just think, and I'm just dealing with the S&P, I do think you have blinders on in some aspects on this subject. And it's rare I would say that to you, but I really do. I would say, look,
you think the United States is as creditworthy as it was 10 years ago?
No, of course not.
That's all I need.
No, obviously they don't deserve it. But at least S&P is civil charges and not criminal charges. We'll be back.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Life is full of unexpected changes. Everyone has potential to do wrong. And when they choose to do it, contact the Bucksell Group for your private investigation needs. TheBucksellGroup.com or by phone at 202-243-9746. Whether there's an instance of a cheating spouse, child custody, process service, or security, don't continue suspecting. Get closure so that you can move on with your life. Visit TheBucksellGroup.com now or call 202-243-9746. If you think it's happening, it probably is.
To travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sports shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
Elder Chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Ken Leochek, how are you today? Is that Ken on the line?
It is. It is.
And of course, we have Logan defending the S&Ps today. Feel that the government has a frivolous lawsuit against the S&P. Do you feel the same way?
I'm not sure. I kind of feel like the government needs to go after Moody's and S&P, but I think that leaving Moody's out is incredibly problematic. When I was on the House Financial Service Committee staff, I ran an investigation into the credit rating agencies that included a full committee hearing right before S&P downgraded us. And the interesting thing was S&P sent its CEO. It sent its top people there, and they were willing to ask questions and be asked questions of themselves and defend. And Moody's sent a patsy who couldn't answer anything and refused to answer anything. So, if that's just an example of how the credit rating agencies act towards the government and behave, it makes me think that S&P is getting punished for the downgrade, which, frankly, we should have been downgraded. So, it's either a frivolous lawsuit or both of them should have been looked into. And I'm no fan of the credit rating agencies, so I probably would look into both of them.
Actually, Armstrong doesn't think the United States should have been downgraded.
No, I did not say that. That's not unfair. I did not say
that. Well, what did you say?
I talked about the fact that S&P is busy making money and turning another head, and it's like the fox is guarding its hen house. I mean, come on, I didn't say the United States.
Do you think the United States government bonds should have been downgraded?
Yes. How many times do you want to say it? Yes.
So they did downgrade there. Okay. And the principal difference between Moody's and S&P in terms of is the ownership. Warren Buffett is one of the principal owners of Moody's.
I think they
and he's
all
Obama's
should be.
Boy.
I think they all should be. Look, here's what I want to deal with. It seems as though their ban on assault weapons is all but dead, Ken Leonchak, and that Harry Reid has the biggest opposition to it.
I don't know much about Reid's position on this, but you're right. I haven't heard anything about the ban, and it's tough. That's a tough law because there's so many emotions involved. But on the other hand, I do get nervous when the government starts trying to mess with the Second Amendment. I am not one who believes that you can have no regulation of weapons. I actually think there is a way to comply with the Second Amendment and have meaningful regulation. And frankly, if it was going to happen, I thought it'd be now, but I haven't heard of anything, and certainly nothing meaningful and groundbreaking, just sort of same old, same old.
Rodney, you have a comment. You're on with Ken and Logan. Thank you for calling.
Hey, Armstrong?
Yes, Rodney.
Yeah, this is Rodney. Hey, great show. I think I'm agreeing on both sides, and this is the reason why. Everybody took a gamble. Everybody. S&P, Moody, probably even Dun & Bradstreet. I mean, everybody took a gamble on people in these packages together for these pension funds to make money. Nobody knew that housing bubble was going to pop and people were just going to walk away from their houses. So what they should have done is, now I agree they shouldn't have lowered U.S. credit. I don't think so, because then we're going to look pretty awful trying to pay back debt when we're going to be almost into a third world class credit rating.
Logan disagrees.
Well, I hate to tell you this.
I got a bone to pick with Logan anyway, because it has something to do with China and he moving his companies to other countries there, his business. I mean, everybody can make a profit, but then they complain that everybody need to find a job and get off of unemployment. That don't make no sense to me, but oh well.
Well, I can't make money in the United States. I can make money in China. So if I can't make money here, I go out of business and I go bankrupt. And the people that work for me here lose their jobs. So the people that I do have working for me here, would lose their jobs if I didn't have my production in China.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm into business as well, but I mean, I think that's the
you got to make a profit, right? You got to make a profit, right?
Yeah, of course. That's what you're in business for.
Right.
That's,
So if you can't make
exactly
a
what
profit
your
in the
bottom
United
line is
States.
going to be, is to make a profit. But the thing is, what gets me, like, big multi-million billionaire companies like you and Armstrong, complain that everybody needs to get off their butt and work and this and that and the other, but y'all taking y'all companies overseas. I don't quite get it. And also, I don't know whether you're aware of what's going on in China, but they got problems too. Real bad problems. They just had a big bust there where they had a fake police department.
I saw that. I saw that. The police chief was fired and put in jail.
Yeah, exactly. So they got much as problem. They rioting, they're picketing just as well because they realize that the $2 or $3 they getting per day, it ain't cut.
But wait a minute,
so,
Ken, how in the world can you have a fake police department, man? That's a new one.
That's the first I've ever heard of that. I'll tell you, that's a brave criminal.
I mean, you heard of it too, Armstrong, correct?
Yeah, I know about the story. Yeah, I read about it this morning. I was scratching my bald head, man. I was just scratching.
And so this makes you think, well, okay, if they got a fake police department and they were running as long as they can, what else are they bootlegging? What else they come? I mean, you might be buying a Sony TV, but is that a legitimate Sony TV? Because they love to duplicate or copy off of somebody else's patent or something like that so they can sell the goods cheaper. So do we know who we are in bed with?
Logan, let's let Logan answer that.
Understand that.
Logan, why don't you talk about this fake police department, man? You know what that is?
I don't know enough about the fake police department, anything more than you guys do.
I enjoy the show. Y'all have a good show.
Thank you, Rodney. All right, go ahead, Logan.
Like I said, I don't know anything more than you've read in the paper. But all I can say is that in many parts of the world, you have vigilantes who basically take over because the central government may not be taking over. We read about that in Mexico. In northern Mexico, there are certain towns and villages there where there's basically a vigilante police department because the regular police department can't take care of the drug dealers there and the drug cartels. Wherever there's a void in power, you find somebody who will go in and fill that. So it doesn't surprise me. Now, let me just say something else. With respect to China, China is a long way from being perfect, and I would not in any way advocate that their economy is perfect. As a matter of fact, if you think crony capitalism is bad here, it's 10 times worse in China, and I can give you all kinds of examples of that. So we should be thankful that we have what we have here compared to what we have there. But having said that, we have to compete against the Chinese in the world and global markets, and it's the consumers, people out there in the audience who buy products that determine where those products are made. And if a product is made in the United States and it sells, the cost is twice what it is in China, to make it in China, the people in the United States, the consumers, are not going to buy it just because it's made here. They're going to buy it because it's cheaper. So we, as American companies, if we're going to compete with the Chinese, we have to be over there taking advantage of that market.
Ken?
I'm not someone who thinks that it's bad to operate your business from with overseas divisions. In fact, I'm not someone who thinks it's bad to take almost all of your business and if not all of it overseas. You got to be able to compete, and it's a global world. And I think this is a real issue, Armstrong. You and I talked about this a few weeks ago. We've got all these people who are trained to do jobs in America that are becoming obsolete because in dealing with the unions and other regulations in America, it's just not cost effective for many of these manufacturing jobs to exist in the U.S. So, I think we have an obligation to get these people retrained. But that's not that to say that companies. In fact, I think it's good. It creates a competitiveness to take companies overseas and their own business and manufacturing and whatnot. And I think frankly, instead of knocking on people for that, and the caller was not. I mean, he was being pretty respectful. Frankly, I think Logan should be congratulated, because by doing that, the people who work for him, including himself in America, are going to do better. And it's not a zero-sum game. I mean, it's about innovation and more and more innovation. I do have the comment that I am not a fan of China, and I have been on the record as not a fan of China. And I don't mean I'm not a fan about everything, and I certainly don't mean that I'm against businesses operating there. Merely for sort of political reasons, and particularly because of their strong crackdowns on the freedom of religion, and religious liberty is so important to me. I worry about China.
We'll be back with our guest, Gary Shapiro, Ninja Innovation. Don't go away. Hi, this is Armstrong Williams. Just like the Affordable Care Act seeks to ensure people with public or private coverage can find high-quality health care, AAA911health.com offers consumers with access to better information, quality care, and big-time savings on your health care. Yes, big time. AAA911health.com offers a 90-day money-back guarantee. That's right. If AAA911health.com haven't saved you money, guess what? They will pay you back in full your membership with no questions asked. Just tell them Armstrong Williams sent you to AAA911health.com.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
So this is going to be an interesting discussion on this ninja innovation, the 10 killer strategies of the world's most successful companies, why some companies thrive, why others fail, and what leads to success, considering that we have one of the foremost CEOs, Logan Delaney, joining us. I'm kind of interested to see what Mr. Shapiro is going to be any different than what we've heard before. And being entrepreneurs ourselves, are we going to challenge or embrace what he has to say? knowing his lead. He's the leader of the Consumer Electronics Association. Gary, welcome to the show. And what is so new and different about your book, about the killer strategies, that's so different from what anybody else has said before?
That's a great question, Armstrong. First, thanks for having me. Well, look, I spent 30 years seeing the transition from basically color television and radio to the world today we have of the average family owning about 25 different products in the world of digital and the internet and wireless broadband. And I've gotten to know some of the leading entrepreneurs in the world. I've combined that with the fact that I have a black belt in Taekwondo and tied it into the history of ninjas who were Japanese warriors who won against all odds. And I put that into a very practical book focusing on how you innovate and how you win, whether as an individual, as an employee, as a CEO, as a government, as a state, you name it. And it's basically practical tips of 30 years of history, building up the largest event in the world, the International CES, which is held every January in Las Vegas, and getting to see how innovation has occurred, what has worked and what has not.
So give us some of the tips.
Well, you know,
how has technology changed this game?
Technology has changed the game dramatically in that things move quicker, and you have to be quicker, and you have to be smarter, and you have to be able to respond quickly to your competition, and you just can't view the world as it is today.
Does
and be
quicker
a yes
mean
man
more
and get along.
efficient? Is it more efficient? Is it better?
Oh, I'm a big believer that technology is more efficient and better. I mean, I can't imagine going back to 30 years ago from when we didn't have access to each other through telecommunications products or a smartphone or applications, or for me personally, where I'm driving, I don't know, I have a horrible geographic sense, getting lost all the time when you're driving, to just finding out information quickly, to even how I wrote the book. A good portion of the book was dictated using transcription on Siri. So it's just a question of how you get things done. Now, of course, there's bad parts to it. There's a lot of things that aren't working well because of technology, whether it's, wackos getting ideas from each other about how to blow up people, or kids putting sexual acts on the internet. We've gotten to a publicity culture, in my view, where everyone wants to be famous and doing some pretty stupid things to be famous and making decisions that are bad decisions, whether they're in government and they're prosecuting a 26-year-old kid who's, knows how to use a computer and trying to put him in jail to the point the kid commits suicide, which happened in the last few weeks, to other things where the government abuses their power using the internet. So there's a lot of bad things, but they're tools. They're like automobiles, Before automobiles, no one had a car accident, obviously. But automobiles cause a lot of deaths, but they're misused as well. But look, combine the technology we are today and where we'll be in a few years, those automobiles won't cause deaths anymore. We're going to have collision avoidance systems. We're going to have all sorts of mandatory things in cars. So there won't be any accidents 20, 30 years from now.
Logan, your question?
Well, what are the 2 or 3 most important things that make companies and individuals successful?
Well, for an individual to be successful, you have to have a goal, and you have to pursue it relentlessly, and you have to be able to envision a world that could exist differently. So the biggest problem that people make, because they're human, and even companies make, is they think that what they try hard to preserve, and we all do this in our lives, is preserve what we have today. The family, the relationships, the friends, the relatives, the colleagues, the business, the financial situation. You're protecting what you have. But the truth is, you can't protect it. We all get old and sick and die. Friends, people, relatives, business colleagues die. Businesses change. Businesses adapt. New technologies come. And you can't protect the status quo. And once you accept that there's always going to be change, you can start, as Wayne Gretzky said, start shooting to the puck where it's going to be, where the player is going to be, rather than where someone is. A lot of companies make bad decisions because they take a picture of the world and they think they're going to compete with everyone based on that picture of the world. But you know what? Every one of the competitors is taking that same picture, and they're planning ahead. And then companies make some mistakes, like they have a bunch of yes men. A lot of big companies have that. They're risk adverse. They're protecting their existing business model. A lot of industries are like that, frankly. Look at television broadcasters or radio broadcasters. They fought the concept of the CD and digital radio. They fought satellite radio, which is what we're on now, because they couldn't envision a world with it, and because they haven't kept up, they've lost out. Same thing with television. Why did no network start a cable network? Why? Because the market was too small when it started out. So Ted Turner started CNN, and other people started other industries. And then why did the satellite companies not start the broadcast cable companies not farm satellite? And why are none of them involved in the beginning of the internet? Why did AOL come along and Google and eBay and Amazon? Why are those all startups? Because no existing company was able to. It's not a lack of resources. They just couldn't envision a world that was different than their status quo. So you have to really picture a world like Steve Jobs would do of what could be and create that world, and you will build a successful company. You can create a successful job, even in terms of how governments and state governments and local governments and national governments operate. You have to visualize a future and build it.
Ken?
Thanks, Armstrong. Gary, and I think because I was trained as an attorney, I care deeply about human capital. And one of the things that I've been concerned about that's been on the political radar that I think is not talked enough about is how companies can innovate with their employee base and retrain their employees. And particularly earlier we were talking about how American companies may need to retrain some of their manufacturing employees and into a new field, so that we can get highest and best use from all over the world, frankly, for our American companies. So one thing I'm interested in is whether in your book you looked at how companies can innovate, retrain, highest and best use of their human capital, or if you haven't in your book, what your thoughts are on how companies can stay, particularly American companies, can stay ahead of the curve in ensuring that the employees that they have are operating at the highest levels that they can be for a fastly quickly changing economy and a quickly changing job environment.
Well, one of the things I have done is I've looked at it from a national perspective and say, what are we doing right and what are we doing wrong? What we're doing right is we really, despite the fact that we criticize ourselves a lot, which is a good thing, we do have the best schools in the world. We judge ourselves harshly because we're judging on standardized tests, which is not what Americans are good at. What Americans are good at is innovation. It's because we're the most diverse, heterogeneous country in the world. We have the First Amendment, which protects us. We're from immigrant stock. We are often questioning rather than just learning by rote. And all these standardized tests we fret about are all rote learning tests. They're not who is the most innovative. We also have the best universities. We track the smartest people from around the world. Obviously, we make a mistake because we kick those people out. In terms of dealing with people in the workplace, absolutely, I totally agree with you. We have to look at when I hire and when good people hire, some people focus on the resume and what's good and what's that. I take a different perspective. I look for a certain type of work ethic. I personally love hiring people who are waiters or waitresses. I think those are some of the smartest people in the world because they know how to use their time, how to establish a relationship in a few seconds, how to work hard, and they understand, they have a more humble perspective, frankly. I also talk about in the book is how you evaluate people and progress them in their careers. So the common thing in America is we do these every year. You do an employee review, and you tell someone, spend all the time talking about how bad they are in their weak areas. You give them little things for the strength and how they can improve their weaknesses. I gave up on that a long time ago. I've concluded, frankly, that if someone's weak in a certain area, you're not going to change them. And that goes into politicians and leaders and actors and actresses and as well. What you have to do is you have to build a team around them and talk about how you can develop a team that complements their weaknesses so together it's a strong team. The worst thing you could do is get everyone in the workplace being the same type of person in a sense of their skills and strengths. You want a diverse workforce, which is one of the things that I think that really makes us great as a country. So, yes, in terms of retraining, that's certainly something you can do if you're hiring the right people in the first place who are smart enough to be retrained. But in terms of actual some of the core strengths or weaknesses that people have, you're wasting your time if you think you're going to change them. And that's a perspective I take. I also, as an employer, we have 150 employees. We won all sorts of awards for best workplace, best things like that, because we try to be innovative. We give every one of our employees $25,000 to buy a home in the area where we're based, so they could start out and be close without worrying about commuting. We also have, we have a wellness program and a daily boot camp for exercising and flexible hours, and most of our employees work at least one day a week outside the office. So you try to do what you can to care about your employees, make sure they're healthy, have a balanced life, and things like that. And that's our focus. That's our strategy as an employer.
Listen, in the few minutes that we have left, are you concerned about the dumbing down of achievement, the resentment against wealth? You did not build this. There seems to be an assault on achievement and entrepreneur, and it seems as though the government is moving more towards a nanny state instead of a capitalistic empowering state.
Yes, I am very concerned, and I think in both books I've written, I think that concept comes across. First, the most important thing that I think you can do is fail in life and be allowed to fail, and you learn from your failures. It also keeps you humble, and I think that's very important. And American society is the most forgiving in the sense of failure because it's viewed as a gaining experience. That's not true in other cultures. So that's a strategic strength that the United States has. Some of our political leaders, sadly, have...
Man, we're out of time. We needed more time with you.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you, everyone.